You thought love would lift you closer to God until it left you questioning everything you believed in. If this symbol, Venus, lives in the ninth house right here, in your natal chart or your birth chart, I'm talking to you. Venus in the ninth house lives for meaning, lives for stories that make sense, love that feels divine, connection that points towards something higher. But when faith meets reality, this Venus learns the most sacred truth of all. You can't think your way to love. You have to live it. Welcome back, beautiful ones. I'm Cindi, astrologer, mystic, and your guide through the stars. And this is Venus Through the Houses. Now, today we enter the ninth house, the temple of truth, philosophy, and expansion, where Venus learns that devotion without embodiment is just escape dressed as enlightenment. And before we begin, know this: you don't need to know astrology to feel this journey. If you've ever loved an idea more than a person, or lost faith after giving your heart too freely, you're already standing right where Venus begins her lesson. So think of this. What happens when belief becomes a shield against heartbreak? For Venus here, love often starts as a search for higher meaning. Maybe you were raised in a belief system where love had to look holy or moral or earned through goodness. Maybe you fell in love with potential, with ideals, with people who made you feel closer to your own philosophy of what should be. But at some point, the ideals cracks. The gurus disappoint, the soulmate leaves, the truth doesn't match the story. And when that happens, the wound opens. You start to wonder if the universe lied to you. If all that faith, all that optimism, all that everything happens for a reason was just a spell to avoid feeling pain. Venus in the ninth house carries the faith wound, the ache of realizing that love, like life, won't always make sense. But it's also the doorway, because when belief shatters, that's when truth finally begins. That's the ache this house hides, the heartbreak of losing belief itself. But beautiful ones, when belief collapses, guess what? That's where space appears. And in that space, that's the next lesson that begins. When wisdom becomes armor, it stops being truth. Think about that for a minute. When this Venus feels betrayed by life, she often escapes upward into philosophy, religion, or the endless search for higher love. She says things like, "It's all divine timing." And this is to soothe a heartbreak that still bleeds. She overeducates her pain, studying every reason why it should have happened, instead of letting herself feel that it did happen. This is the distortion of the ninth house, spiritual bypass disguised as enlightenment. It's the illusion that you can think your way through the ache, that another teacher, another trip, another sacred text will explain why love hurts. But love doesn't need an explanation. It needs a presence, because the moment you stop analyzing it, you'll start experiencing it. So take a breath. You don't have to make sense of everything you've lived. Not yet. Because after every bypass comes the moment of return, when the heart finally catches up to what the mind can't explain. Now, beautiful ones, if this is resonating, I'd love for you to subscribe to Simply Cindi and journey deeper with me. Every week we explore these archetypes, not to escape the human experience, but to remember how sacred it really is. Now, beautiful ones, listen to me when I say this. Truth isn't something you find. It's something you remember. Healing begins when Venus in the ninth house lets her heart and her mind reunite. When she stops trying to transcend her humanity and starts honoring it. Because this is where faith matures, not as blind belief, but as embodied wisdom. You realize you don't need love to prove your worth or your purpose. You don't need answers before you allow joy. You simply need to trust what feels true right now. This is where Venus becomes the philosopher turned into the mystic, the one who has studied every system, every symbol, and finally says, I don't need to understand it. I just need to live it. And in that moment, your soul exhales. The search ends. The experience begins. And that's the moment Venus stops preaching and starts participating. And as she opens her hands, something miraculous happens. The truth she was chasing begins to move through her. Love doesn't ask for belief. It asks for participation. When Venus matures in this house, love stops being an idea to chase and becomes a practice to embody. You start meeting people who reflect your curiosity instead of your need for certainty. Partnerships become a shared exploration where both souls are free, but neither needs to run. This is love as a pilgrimage, not to find God, but to realize you were never separate. You love not to escape the human experience, but to deepen it. And the beauty you radiate comes from the ability to hold that paradox, to let freedom and faith coexist in one open heart. Because now you don't need love to make sense. You just need it to be real. And that's where Venus in the ninth house truly blossoms. Not in the heavens she once worshipped, but in the ordinary moment she finally calls divine. Now, beautiful ones, Venus in the ninth house is the sacred seeker, the mystic tested by life. She begins by searching for God through others and ends by finding the divine through herself. The wound taught you that faith could fail. The distortion taught you to hide behind meaning. But the truth is this: you, my beautiful one, are the meaning. You are the miracle that love has been trying to explain. You are both the student and the scripture. Every heartbreak was a classroom. Every journey was a prayer. And every moment that you dared to love again, even after losing faith, that was proof that the divine still lives inside you. So, my beautiful ones, if this message stirred something in you, hype this video, because every hype helps it reach the ones who feel lost right now. And stay tuned, because soon we'll journey into the 10th house, where love grows from philosophy into purpose, and your heart learns what legacy really means. But until then, beautiful ones, keep your frequency clear, your choices intentional, and your heart in the flow.